Good morning, Mark Seth with HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD discussion on Hurricane Irma, the latest information out from the National Hurricane Center. Winds are down just a little bit to 175. The pressure has risen to about 921 millibars since yesterday, and it is moving off to the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. The headline here, extremely dangerous Hurricane Irma headed for the Turks and Caicos Islands. Hurricane and storm surge watch are in effect for portions of South Florida and the Florida Keys. So there you go. Hurricane watch now posted and a storm surge watch for portions of Florida, and that includes a part of the Florida Keys. The bearing is 290 degrees, so it's definitely moving west-northwest. Right here, a storm surge watch has been issued for the Florida Peninsula from Jupiter Inlet southward and around the peninsula to Bonita Beach, including the Florida Keys. So that's very important to note there. And then a hurricane watch has been issued for the Florida Peninsula from that same area around the peninsula to Bonita Beach, including the Keys, Lake Okeechobee, and Florida Bay. So this does include Lake Okeechobee. And then different watches and warnings throughout the rest of the Southwest Atlantic Basin through the Bahamas, parts of Cuba. This is all in the public advisory, so be sure to read that if you want the details there. The hurricane force winds have expanded just a little bit. They extend out 60 miles from the center, and the tropical storm force wind still 185 miles from the center of circulation. So let's see if the map has updated here, the track map for the 11 o'clock advisory package, and it's still on the 8 o'clock, so we'll look at a satellite picture here as we wait for that to hopefully refresh. And you can see it's definitely taking a little bit more of a jog here off to the northwest, and I'm drawing on it with red, which blends right in with the central dense overcast cloud cover there. So it's gained a lot more latitude than it did and was doing yesterday. And so this is headed for the Turks and Caicos Islands in here, where storm surge can be in excess of 15 to 20 feet above the normal tide levels, and this is all going to spread tremendous rainfall and category 3, 4, 5 winds, just depending on where you are in this region, and then approaching the Florida Peninsula over the next couple of days. The 12Z guidance, just the early look at the hurricane models here, fairly, really tightly clustered here until about day 3 as it approaches southeast Florida, and then after that, either just on the coast or just off the coast, depending on which model gets it right. And we need to see what the global models indicate. They have a lot more, there's hurricane-specific models, and then you have your larger global models, such as the GFS and the Euro. That's what we hear about the most. But this gives us an idea, this snapshot of the potential track area over the next 5 days or so, and certainly by day 5, it's way up here, potentially in parts of western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina, and we'll just have to see. That's subject to large errors, and it's not so much as errors as that it's going to change this projection out in time. So don't focus on the category farther north here. If you see that this is saying, oh, it looks like about a category 1 at landfall, that's just the wind speed. The surge with this will already be put into motion, and it could be substantial. We'll be talking about that more in the coming days. Let's see if the track map has updated. It's pretty close to 11 o'clock Eastern time, and unfortunately it has not. They got a lot going on down there in Miami, but the general idea is this will come to the north coast of Cuba, staying offshore, and then extremely close or just onshore in southeast Florida, and then a landfall up here eventually in South Carolina, maybe a little bit farther up the coast. We'll just have to see. I'll try to refresh one more time before we bail out here. It's the way it goes. It's almost 11 a.m. Eastern time, and the map hasn't been updated yet. So, but I think you get the idea. It's very powerful. It's headed towards the southeast coast of the United States in one form or another. The intensity we'll deal with later. I do think that this could increase quite a bit in intensity as it approaches southeast Florida. The water temperatures there are much warmer, the upper ocean heat content more substantial, and this needs to be taken as seriously as any hurricane in history, and I don't say that lightly. I will be heading to Florida myself, and I'll be streaming live on our Ustream feed at the HurricaneTrack.com homepage. There's a link there, and I will be posting video updates along the way. And what I'll do, in the interest of time, is they will basically be co-branded, and what I post for HurricaneTrack.com will come right in here to Hurricane Pro and HD. Instead of doing two separate ones, I'll just do one, since I'm going to be up against the clock and be traveling and trying to produce these still while on the road. But you'll have some great information, and that's the point. And be sure to follow Hurricane Pro in Twitter, and as well as me, Hurricane Track. I am Mark Suttoth for HurricaneTrack.com and for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll have more for you tonight as I get to Florida.